Hey gang, this morning I want to talk about the hurricane killer idea. When I wrote Bill Gates in 2008, January 2nd, registered mail sent to the foundation, I gave him an idea because I was trying to get a patent idea off the ground. But something that evolved from that, which I told him, globally, if deployed and worked with governments around the world, these units could be deployed everywhere around the world, and at nighttime could chill the surface of ocean water in a lot of hot spots that would in turn maybe lower the air temperature in those areas. And it would be like an experiment to see if using the cold, deep water could come to the surface and help lower temperature overall. Even if by half a degree, it's a lot. But what really happened was he deployed this system in the Gulf of Mexico the year that the oil spill happened. And we had all but only one storm that entire season in the Gulf that was of any magnitude. But something else happened from us doing that, upwelling that cold water. Primarily the idea was to position barges around a loop current, which is a couple of 100 miles out into the Gulf of Mexico. And in the beginning of the season, it starts kind of north of Cuba, but it makes a big circle, comes towards the coast of Florida, under Louisiana, and then goes a little west and falls back down into the Bay of Campeche, which is, at the end of the season in the fall, where some storms go, because that loop current, once it heats up to 300 degrees, once it heats up down to 300 feet in the middle of the summer, it takes a lot to cool off the Gulf of Mexico. But if you position outside of that loop current, where the cold water is, and dump cold water back on top of it, only physics is going to have some type of role there to where you're going to change something. And what changed that year in particular was that the Gulf Stream, that is a body of water that flows beneath the Gulf of Mexico, kind of not that far offshore, but actually flows all the way around the tip of Florida and goes up the east coast of Florida, following the coastline for a really long ways. And what that does is bring warmer Gulf tropical water up to the colder water of the Atlantic. Well, when that water's cold and it doesn't have that flow pattern, guess what happens? The coldest fucking winter in 100 years in UK followed that system being deployed in the Gulf. And the genius Bill Gates, who is avoiding you understanding who actually gave him that idea, because he's got an ego problem, I guess. Well, he is hiding the fact, or probably doesn't even know, that the global warming issue that I didn't even bring up in there because I had no idea that would happen, did happen. And I think it's something that the Oceanic and NOAA need to explore in possibly doing this to bring an earlier winter. Not constant throughout the year, but if we can chill that water enough to bring an early winter, that could be significant in a way of cooling us down, even if it's a man-made cooling period. The same thing happens with the Green New Deal, because what the Green New Deal does is any excess byproducts from cannabis being grown from the ground, it's going to have some uptake of sulfur, which is going to burn off if it's burned. So could it be that if we piled this stuff up in the Northwest at the same time that we kick in the cool chillers of the Gulf of Mexico, we may be able to bring winter in an earlier pattern and reset Mother Earth's climate by tweaking it a little bit with natural ways of doing it. And if you think that's a bad idea, well, we don't need more burning. Thousands and thousands of years ago, when cannabis covered every valley of every mountainside on just about every continent, because it was a dominant plant that would come up right through the snow and take control. Because when you go to Himalayans, even when it's snow on the ground, little tiny cannabis plants are coming up out the ground, as my buddy showed me in a video once when he was there in India for 3 months, in the Himalayas. God bless you, Chris. I love you, brother. I hope you're watching. But if we allow that plant that was eradicated, that, yes, in dry seasons, when Mother Earth has too much dry, guess what happens? All of that shit dries out. The sulfur that's in it catches ablaze. Fire adds renewal to some parts of the environment if it overgrows itself, if there's too much underbrush. But if you have a plant mixed in there that has been eradicated from every continent, and you add that back to Mother's equation, which is actually like, basically, if you think about it, it's like the living green flesh of a planet that was growing, creating abundance of oxygen life that humans breathe. We need that same plant planted on every interstate globally. I mean, every open space where carbon emissions are emitted, we need plants to gobble that shit up and to put out oxygen that we breathe. Raise the oxygen saturation level of Earth, and Earth is growing. It's alive. It's becoming more alive, able to support more life, able to support people who have low uptake oxygen, like my friend Paul Booth, a beloved friend, has low uptake hereditary. His grandmother had in her 50s, and she died early. Now he has the same onset. If saturation in the Earth's atmosphere was higher, people like him would not need supplements to keep their brains from dying, because your brain cells die slowly if you don't have enough oxygen. Even breathing wrong, a mouth breather, you're not getting enough air. In through the nose, out through the mouth is what saves your brain from day one. From day one. We need oxygen, people. We need a cooler planet. We need sulfur dioxide from that burn that goes into the upper atmosphere at the end of fall and closes that ozone hole with the sulfur dioxide, which acts the opposite of carbon when the greenhouse effect is considered. So if you match that with the upwelling of water, slow down the Gulf Stream to where there is more harsh winters up north, they will get over it with a better planet, with more ice. We have to do this, people. We are running out of time. This should have been done by the Obama administration in 2009, June 24th, when the Green New Deal evacuated the White House due to registered mail coming in, causing an alarming thing. That same letter containing the information about hash for cash from the Green New Deal that helped find our worst enemy. All of this is fucking not just some kind of bullshit, gang. This is the real deal. But I need your help to make it happen. And I don't know if people just don't like me, if they think I'm an egomaniac, because I can assure you I'm not. I just know a lot of things that are going to help us get through this, because I have an awareness that comes through a type of autism that is tested and certified by Fed. Come on, man. You got to help me, folks. Share this shit and figure out how to get this planet right. Because preservation, true conservatism, is not anything to do with the Republican Party and their fear of change, life's constant. We need preservation, conservation, the Sunrise Movement. All of you, please get on board with the Green New Deal author. You are the most conservative voters on the planet because you are preservationists, humanitarian preservationists, not absolute anti-war people pretending they're cool because they don't like wars, but they're really sociopaths that'll allow slaughter of human life. Not getting on board with preservation and true conservatism is their sociopathic life. You guys wake up, man. This is your life. Your kids to be life. Help me, please.